before I start this review, I just wanted to say that I apologize that I was unable to do a review of The Dark Tower. I was supposed to go with Eddie to go watch the film in theaters, but unfortunately he had some things that came up, and I decided that I'm going to go watch the film probably sometime this weekend or so, or maybe sometime next week, because I'm basically going on vacation for a week, and so I'll have pretty much a hiatus going on for my channel. So I apologize if there might not be any videos that are coming up here lately. But I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm going to be taking a short vacation with my parents. We're actually going to Georgia to stay at a condo on the beach, and so I might probably end up going with my parents to watch The Dark Tower in the theaters while I'm down there. But if anything, that's where I'll probably get to, is watch it down there. So I apologize that there was no review yet of The Dark Tower as I had mentioned earlier this week, but I'll try to get to it as soon as I can, if on my own, basically, when in the theater on my own, since I was unable to have Eddie go with me. So until then, here's my review of the new Annabelle, creation. Annabelle Creation is directed by David Sandberg and is the second prequel spin-off of the Conjuring films that began in 2013 with The Conjuring, and then The Conjuring 2 in 2016 of last year. And then a few years ago, there was the prequel spin-off, Annabelle, which was supposed to be basically telling the story of the original Annabelle doll that we first saw in the Conjuring film. With this story deals with, this is yet another prequel to the Conjuring universe by taking place before the events of the first Annabelle film from 2014. And this one tells the story of an orphanage that is being run by Anthony LaPlaga, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. And Miranda Otto's characters, who are running an orphanage for these young girls that come there to stay, and there's a dark backstory involving them, and not going to really spoil things, I'm kind of leaving it there, but basically it deals with the Annabelle doll and its creation, and the way that it surrounds the house and the evil entity that's going through the house. Now, a little backstory. Now, I'll admit, when the first Conjuring film came out in 2014, which I still have my old review of it up if you want to go check it out, I actually was pretty looking forward to that one when it first came out, because I was such a big fan of the original Conjuring film from 2013 that I got so hyped into watching the Annabelle film, the original one, because I was so into the story of the doll from the Conjuring that I wanted to see something surrounding it, or just I wanted to see more of its story. And when I saw the first Annabelle, I was with my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend Lauren at the time, and me and her watched it. And I'll admit that I was pretty disappointed with that one. I thought that it was a step way below from the first Conjuring film, and it didn't really succeed my expectations the way I thought it was going to be, because it really just became any other generic horror film. And in fact, I thought the climax was so anticlimactic that it really just, it felt like a nothing film. So I never gave a rating back then when I first reviewed it, because at the time I was still getting my channel up for YouTube. But if I would have rated it back then, I probably would have gave it probably a 4 or 5 out of 10. So I was very disappointed with the first one. But when I heard with this one coming out, it actually got me curious, because I'm into these type of movies that deal more with these kind of periodic films, that are these ghost stories, these supernatural films that are set in like these different time periods, like we had last year with Ouija Origins of Evil, which stars the same girl from that film in this one, Lou Wilson, I believe that's her name. Yeah, she plays one of the orphan girls in this movie. And this film was also directed by David Sandberg, who directed last year's horror film Lights Out, which I actually enjoyed as well. And so this one kind of got me curious, because I'm into these type of horror films, because based on what I'm seeing based on what the news I heard about the film, it actually seemed like they've improved a lot from the first movie. And I'll admit that this movie actually really surprised me. I really had a great time with this one. It succeeded everything that the first film should have done. So here are my pros. I like the performances in this film, especially Miranda Otto as the mother, and I also enjoyed Anthony LaPlegla. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. You may have seen him in like other films that he's been in. He was one of the suspects, or one of like the mob, or he was one of like the main guys, people from if you ever remember The Client, he played one of the bad guys in that movie. So it's him, and he plays the father in this one. He's the husband and wife of this orphanage that they run, and I thought it was good to see him in a movie after a long time. Cause I do like seeing him in movies here and there, but anyway, I also enjoy the performances of the girls too. I thought that the girl who played Janice, I forgot the actress's name, but the other girl who I mentioned earlier, Lou Wilson, she also plays Linda, the other orphan girl, and I love the chemistry between her and the other girl, Janice, because Janice, the character, kind of has this leg brace similar to Forrest Gump, where she's having to walk around a lot. And not going to spoil anything, but there is when things get real throughout the rest of the film, it really gets intense. Because a lot of the scares that they use are very clever, the way they are set up with the way the camera is handled. And much like with the first two Conjuring films, they actually do some clever camera techniques, the way they use these tracking shots, like when they first open the door, when they first enter the orphanage, and it holds on to them while they're going around the house. So I'm glad that almost in every film of the Conjuring series, well, probably except for Annabelle, the first one, we get those cool tracking shots where characters are walking inside the house, and the camera just stays on them like it's one take. So I do enjoy the way the movie is well made with that. And the scares in this film too are pretty intense as well. Like, I don't want to give anything away because I really felt like the trailer was giving too many of the jump scares away. But there is something in this film that I will say that kind of reminded me something out of the remake of The House on Haunted Hill. Very underrated remake in my opinion. But when you see what I'm talking about from that film, you'll probably see the same thing in this one. And there's also something else in this movie that looked like something out of The Darkness, the video game from the original Xbox 360. So this film does have some pretty unique scares in this throughout that I got a kick out of, and I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Like, I was really fucking shocked. I was like, damn, man, you know. But I will also say that the film does have, I like the way it's made in this period as well, because if I'm judging correctly, if this is a prequel to the other film, I think this might take place in like the 40s or maybe the late 50s, I think. I'm not really too sure of the time period, but you can tell it really captures the look of it, and I really love the whole like countryside feel, because it kind of feels closer to where I live at. Well, I mean, I don't live in the countryside, but like when I go through certain areas around my town I'm at, there are countrysides that I like seeing that kind of gives me that feel out of this. So I got a kick out of the way it was shot in those locations. And I also like the way that when it builds up the suspense moments, you can really feel the tension that's growing, because there are typical jump scares that go with a lot of horror films, and it's common. But the way that they use them in this one, it's timed right, much like the other Conjuring films, instead of the first Annabelle. And they make it to where you're still building the atmosphere around it, and a lot of the way that the jump scares are set up wisely. And when you hear the noises, it actually goes off at the right moments. So I got a kick out of that. And now, if there are some things, and I also really enjoyed the way that they do this cool backstory that were later revealed in the film that I thought was really interesting. And there are some nice references that kind of tie things in with the other films as well. So I do highly appreciate that they were able to capture this as a great prequel to the other films. Now, if I have really any cons, I will say that, much like with other horror films, it is pretty common that you're seeing a lot of jump scares that happen a lot. Or you get those typical movie cliches where characters go alone by themselves, or you have those moments where characters don't believe the one of the girls of what's happening with the entity that's happening in the house. So you're going to see that a lot with these type of movies, but at this point it's pretty much common knowledge. You know, it is pretty standard. It has now become that standard of horror film. Well, it's always been. So it really didn't surprise me in that regard. But I will say I was also feeling like they could have maybe done some things that were a little more unpredictable, because when you basically see the story as it goes along, you are kind of putting together piece by piece of what's happening. And other than probably the cool backstory at the end, the movie didn't really have like a lot of like unique things that were unexpected. So I kind of called a lot of things that were happening throughout. So other than that, I mean, I really did enjoy this movie. I really do feel like this works as a good prequel. And if you didn't like the first Conjuring, I think you might probably like this one more, because they were able to fix some of the things that the other film did from the first time. So I do recommend this, and I'm going to give Annabelle Creation an 8.5 out of 10. For those of you who have also checked out Annabelle Creation, let me know in the comments of what you guys thought about it. And if you like what you see here, you can check out some of my other reviews here on my channel. And I'll be back after probably another, well, if I don't get to do a review of the Dark Tower soon, I'll be back next time, or I'll be back next week with probably some more stuff after I get back from my trip. I think and also Eddie might be doing some other written reviews in the meantime, so he'll probably post some things on our Facebook page, and then I'll upload them to the website for you guys to check out if you'd like. And feel free to go ahead and like and subscribe to my, if you like what you see here. And I'll be seeing you here. I'll probably on my. I'll see you on my next review. So until then, hope everyone has a good rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you guys later.